What if I told you that the way you get up from a chair right now, the way you climb a staircase without holding the railing, the way your hands grip something with force, the way you stand on one foot without wobbling, is not just a small physical detail, but is actually a live broadcast of how many years you have left on this earth? What if the most powerful health test ever designed costs absolutely nothing, requires no doctor, no machine, no laboratory, and can be done in your own living room in under 60 seconds? What if most men at 60 have already lost abilities they do not even know they had? And what if you, right now, watching this, are one of the rare few who still has what it takes to be called genuinely, biologically, dangerously strong? Stay with me, because what I am about to share will completely change how you see aging, how you see your own body, and how you choose to live every single morning from this day forward. What if I told you that the way you get up from a chair right now, the way you climb a staircase without holding the railing, the way your hands grip something with force, the way you stand on one foot without wobbling, is not just a small physical detail, but is actually a live broadcast of how many years you have left on this earth? What if the most powerful health test ever designed costs absolutely nothing, requires no doctor, no machine, no laboratory, and can be done in your own living room in under 60 seconds? What if most men at 60 have already lost abilities they do not even know they had? And what if you, right now, watching this, are one of the rare few who still has what it takes to be called genuinely, biologically, dangerously strong? Stay with me, because what I am about to share will completely change how you see aging, how you see your own body, and how you choose to live every single morning from this day forward. There is a moment that happens to most men somewhere around their late 50s and early 60s. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with sirens or flashing lights. It comes quietly, almost politely. One morning you notice you are a little slower on the stairs. One afternoon you realize your hands feel slightly weaker when you open a jar. One evening you stand up from the couch and there is a pause, a small hesitation in your body that was never there before. Most men laugh it off. They say it is just age. They say everybody goes through it. They pour themselves a coffee, sit back down, and they accept the slow disappearance of the man they used to be. And that, right there, is the most dangerous moment in a man's life. Not because of what is happening physically, but because of what he is choosing to believe about himself. What if getting older did not have to mean getting weaker? What if 60 was not the beginning of the end, but the beginning of the most important physical and mental battle a man will ever fight in his life? What if the men who are genuinely thriving at 70, 75, and 80, the ones who move with confidence, who carry their grandchildren, who walk without assistance, who wake up with energy and go to bed with satisfaction, what if they did not stumble into that life accidentally? What if they made a decision, a fierce, non-negotiable decision, somewhere around the age of 60, that they were not going to surrender without a war? Let me tell you something that the medical world has confirmed through decades of research, and that most men will never hear from their doctor during a routine checkup. Your grip strength right now is one of the most accurate predictors of how long you will live and how well you will live. Not your cholesterol number, not your blood pressure reading, not your body weight on the scale, your grip. The force with which your hand can close around an object and hold it. Studies involving hundreds of thousands of men across multiple countries and multiple decades have confirmed this repeatedly and consistently. A strong grip at 60 means a stronger heart, a healthier brain, denser bones, more active metabolism, and a dramatically lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, stroke, or respiratory failure. A weak grip is not just a sign of a weak hand. It is a signal from deep inside your biology that the entire system is beginning to shut down. And here is what makes this shocking. Most men at 60 have never once trained their grip intentionally. They have never thought about it. They have never measured it. And they have no idea that this one overlooked detail is quietly writing their future without their permission. What if you could change that starting today? What if the next time you picked up something heavy, you chose to hold it a little longer, squeeze a little harder, challenge your hand to work the way it was designed to work? What if that single daily habit, repeated consistently over months, began to reverse the biological clock in ways that would show up not just in your hands, but in your heart, your brain, and your energy levels? The science says it is possible. The question is whether you believe you are worth fighting for. Now let us talk about something that most men find even more revealing when they try it for the first time. Stand up right now if you can. Find a clear space. Lift one foot off the ground. Stand on a single leg. Do not hold the wall. Do not grab a chair. Just stand and count how many seconds you last before you have to put your foot down. If you can hold that position for 10 seconds or more, you are already ahead of the majority of men your age. If you struggle to reach 5 seconds, your body is sending you a message that you need to hear right now. Balance is not just about not falling. Balance is a direct window into the health of your nervous system, the strength of the tiny stabilizing muscles in your legs and core, the communication speed between your brain and your body, and the structural integrity of your entire physical framework. Research published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that men over 51 who could not balance on one leg for at least 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of dying within the next 10 years compared to those who could. Read that number again. 84%. That is not a small statistical footnote. That is a number that should make every man over 60 put down his remote control and stand up right now. What if balance was something you could train? What if 30 seconds a day, standing on one foot while you brush your teeth, while you wait for your coffee to brew, while you stand in the kitchen before dinner, could measurably improve your neurological function, reduce your fall risk, strengthen your lower body, and add years of independent, confident living to your life? The research says yes. The biology says yes. The only question is whether you will say yes to yourself. Let us go deeper now into something that men rarely discuss openly, but that affects every single aspect of a man's life after 60. Muscle. Real, functional, hard-earned muscle. Not the kind you see on magazine covers, not biceps designed for photographs. The kind of muscle that allows you to carry groceries from the car without stopping to rest. The kind that lets you rise from the floor without assistance. The kind that keeps your back straight, your shoulders squared, your posture powerful, your walk confident. Sarcopenia, the clinical term for age-related muscle loss, is one of the most widespread and devastating health conditions affecting men over 60 today. And almost nobody talks about it seriously. From the age of 30, men begin losing muscle mass at a rate of approximately 3 to 5% per decade. After 60, that rate accelerates sharply if nothing is done to stop it. By 70, a man who has lived a sedentary life may have lost 30 to 40% of the muscle tissue he had at his peak. That is not just a cosmetic loss. That is a metabolic catastrophe. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. It burns calories, regulates blood sugar, produces hormones, supports bone density, and protects the joints. When you lose muscle, your metabolism slows, your blood sugar becomes harder to regulate, your bones become more fragile, your joints become more vulnerable, and your entire body begins operating at a lower level of efficiency. This is why men who have lost significant muscle mass by 60 feel tired all the time. This is why they feel cold. This is why their motivation drops. This is why their mood becomes darker and their patience shorter. This is why they start to feel like old men, even though their mind still remembers being young. What if you could stop that process? What if resistance training, even simple resistance training done 3 times a week for 30 to 40 minutes, could halt muscle loss, and in many cases actually reverse it even after 60? Study after study has shown that men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s who engage in regular resistance training build new muscle tissue, increase their strength, improve their hormone levels, enhance their cognitive function, and report dramatically better quality of life. The human body does not give up just because a number on a birthday cake changes. The human body responds to challenge at any age. What it cannot survive is being permanently ignored. Here is another truth that hits differently when you sit with it long enough. Testosterone. The hormone that defines your energy, your drive, your physical strength, your confidence, and your identity as a man throughout your life. After 60, testosterone levels in the average man have dropped significantly from their peak. This affects everything. Sleep quality, mood, motivation, muscle maintenance, cardiovascular health, cognitive sharpness, and sexual vitality. And the medical world often presents this as an inevitable, unchangeable fact of aging. But here is what that conversation frequently leaves out. Men who engage in regular resistance training have measurably higher testosterone levels than sedentary men of the same age. Men who sleep 7 to 9 hours per night maintain better hormonal balance than men who sacrifice sleep. Men who manage chronic stress through physical activity, social connection, and purposeful daily routine preserve their hormonal health far more effectively than men who do not. Hormonal decline after 60 is real, but it is not a sentence. It is a challenge. And the men who choose to meet that challenge every single morning are the ones who still feel like men at 75 in a way that most men stopped feeling at 62. What if your hormones were not your destiny? What if the choices you make this week about how you move, how you sleep, how you eat, and how you think were quietly reshaping your hormonal environment in ways that would make themselves known through your energy 6 months from now? What if the version of yourself you remember being at 45, sharp, strong, driven, and full of life, was not as far away as you think it is? Let us talk about something that is rarely included in fitness conversations, but that research has proven to be one of the most powerful physical tests of aging in men: the sitting and rising test. Sit cross-legged on the floor right now without using your hands or your knees for support. Then stand back up the same way, without pushing off the ground with your hands, without using a knee as a lever, without grabbing anything nearby. This test was developed by a Brazilian physician and researcher named Claudio Gil Araujo, who studied over 2,000 men and women between the ages of 51 and 80. The findings were extraordinary. Each time a person needed to use a hand, a knee, or an arm to get up from the floor, points were deducted from their score. Those with the lowest scores had a death rate 5 to 6 times higher than those with the highest scores over the following decade. The ability to get up from the floor and back down again is a composite measurement of flexibility, muscle strength, balance, motor coordination, and body composition all at once. It is one of the most complete single tests of physical vitality that exists, and most men over 60 cannot do it. Most men over 60 have not sat on the floor in years. They have moved their lives into chairs and cars and couches and beds, and they have slowly, quietly lost the ability to move freely through space. And they have accepted this as normal. It is not normal. It is not inevitable. It is not who you have to be. What if you practiced this every single day? What if you got on the floor once in the morning and once in the evening and worked on rising without support? What if this one practice alone began rebuilding the flexibility, the core strength, the hip mobility, and the neurological coordination that your body has been quietly losing? What if the floor, the thing most men over 60 avoid, became the most powerful training tool in your life? Now, I want to speak to you about something that goes beyond the physical, something that separates the men who thrive after 60 from the men who simply survive. It is not a supplement. It is not a training program. It is not a diet plan. It is identity. The story a man tells himself about who he is. The belief a man holds in his chest about what is still possible for him. Because here is the truth that neuroscience has been confirming for decades. What you believe about your own aging directly influences how you age. Studies on older adults have shown that people who hold positive beliefs about aging live an average of 7.5 years longer than those who hold negative beliefs. 7.5 years. More than the benefit of not smoking. More than the benefit of regular exercise alone. The story you tell yourself about being 60 is not just a story. It is a biological instruction that your brain sends to every cell in your body every single day. When you say, "I am getting old," your brain hears it and begins organizing your biology accordingly. When you say, "I am getting stronger," your brain hears that too and begins organizing your biology around that truth instead. What if you changed the story? What if 60 was not the age where men slow down, but the age where certain kinds of men speed up? What if this decade, properly approached, was the most intentional, most disciplined, most powerful decade of a man's life? What if the men who laugh the loudest, move the most freely, sleep the most deeply, and love the most openly at 70 are the ones who made that decision at 60 with absolute conviction and never looked back? Let me bring this home with the most important physical truth about men over 60. The ones who are stronger than most. They are not necessarily the ones who ran marathons in their 40s or lifted the heaviest weights in their 30s. They are the ones who showed up consistently, who moved their body when they did not feel like it, who got back up every time the years tried to sit them down, who chose discomfort over comfort day after day, not because it was easy, but because they understood that the alternative was a slow, quiet, undignified erosion of everything they were built to be. Strong men at 60 can get off the floor without help. They can carry weight without trembling. They can stand on one leg without swaying. They can climb stairs without hesitation. They can shake hands with force. They sleep at night and wake up ready. They are not superhuman. They are simply men who refuse to stop showing up for themselves. Make it today. Make it tomorrow. Make it every single morning until making it becomes who you are.